Okay, Aquaria Freshwater Fish Rescue. Today we're going to do a species profile. Wow, brain freeze. Species profile. Apple snails. Mystery snails. Okay, so this is a mystery snail, aka apple snail. Now, with an apple snail, they're different than your average snail. They're not necessarily a pest snail. Just a little bit of info. The reason they're called mystery snails is because when they were first introduced into the hobby, nobody knew where they came from. So, it was a mystery. So people just started calling them mystery snails. Alright, now with mystery snails, their shells are made of calcium, so you do want to put some calcium in your water. That is one of the most important things that I can't stress enough, is calcium. You can buy something at the pet shop called Cuttlebone. It's for birds to chew on with their beak or sharpen their beak. But you just break it up into like a fine powder and kind of sprinkle some into your tank every once in a while. And it'll make sure that their shells are nice and strong and that they don't deteriorate. Basically, there are males and females of mystery snails. They mate pretty periodically, actually. If you look, we actually got a couple getting busy right now. There is a way to sex them. I've never actually done it. I pretty much just leave my snails be, and if they lay a clutch of eggs, they lay a clutch of eggs. I don't really pay any attention or as to who, what, when, or why, but when they do, I hatch them and try to get as many going as I can. Like I said, they're not actually considered pest snails because they don't procreate super fast. It does take a couple weeks to hatch the eggs. Basically, what happens is the snails get down and dirty inside the tank. After they get down and dirty, the female will crawl up to the top of the tank and sit at the water line, and then they will lay something called a clutch of eggs, which is right there. That's what it looks like. They always do it above the water. They try to do it in a nice humid place. So a lot of times it'll be, wherever they think is the best spot. What you do is you take this, you can leave it on the side of the tank like that and pretty much just wait for it to hatch, but it could take a long time. What I like to do is put it in a Tupperware container with a wet paper towel and then float it in one of my warmer tanks for about a week. It'll get it's actually hard. It's not mushy or anything. It looks like it might be slimy, but it's totally not. It's hard. But once you leave it in that container, like a Tupperware container with a wet paper towel for a week or so, it'll get real brittle and it'll pretty much just break in between your fingers, and there will be crap loads of baby snails in it. But if you don't want them to reproduce in your tank, you just basically get rid of the clutch and you're good to go. So a way to sex them is looking up and under their shells, I guess. Like I said, don't ever pay attention, but there is a definite way. You're supposed to look up and under their shell for a little skin thingy. It'll be right behind their head. there's like a little flap of skin back there, then it's a female, and if not, it's a male. This right here is called the siphon. They use that to breathe air. Snails actually breathe air out of the water and through the atmosphere. So that's pretty cool. Other than that, I think that's about it. Oh, another little fact about them is the longer you have them in one specific tank, the better their shells will look. With this one right here, you can see the line in his shell. That's where he got switched from one tank to another. There will always be a visible line when you switch the snail to different water parameters, because they're taking what they can get out of the water column to make their shell. So there will be a visible difference. So the best thing you can do is keep them in the same tank all the time if you want them to look really good. For example, this guy's shell. He does have some lines, but for the most part, it's been in the exact same habitat for its entire life. Another example would be something like this. If you see how it's real transparent and brittle right here, and it just breaks off. But that's because, like I said, this is it's a calcium which is needed to make the shell strong. But if you look at this specific snail, you can see that it's been in the same tank its entire life. Maybe when it was a baby. Yeah, if I can focus, then you can see right there where that small crack is. That's when he got moved to this tank. But this is one of our purple ones. We have all different colors. I just actually hatched some into a smaller tank, which I'll show you those and what they look like. If you look, here's a baby one. Here's a baby one. They're pretty much all over in here. I cracked the clutch open after about 2 weeks. They'll go down to the bottom. There's a bunch of them right there. They'll go down to the bottom and they'll eat the detritus until they're big enough or they have enough energy to climb the glass up to the atmosphere and breathe oxygen. And now they're up here messing around, exploring their environment. But other than that, mystery snails can get fairly big. Let me show you an example. This guy here is a monster. He doesn't look very big, but once I grab him out, he is huge. This camera is not doing it justice at all, but he's a monster. He actually had a couple holes in his shell before I went and got him out of a different tank that I had at my dad's house, and there was a calcium deficiency. And when that happens, you'll see abscesses in the shell like this. But they can repair themselves if you put them in a calcium-rich environment. Like I said, the cuttle bone does wonders. But this one right here, he's the only one I have named. His name's Turbo. He's a beast. Other than that, that's pretty much everything. on the snail subject. Quick example of a few different colors. There's like brown striped ones that start off more purple. Then you have your full-on brown ones. And then you have all white. Super brown. Blue. Okay, so as far as breeding the snails, once you get a clutch like this, basically you just take it off like this. With a knife or something. Like I said, it looks like it would be slimy. Maybe the back is. But it's not very slimy at all. So, like I said, in order to hatch the eggs, you get a paper towel or something that'll hold a little bit of moisture. You get it damp, put it in a Tupperware container, and then you set your clutch of eggs on it. Put the lid on it and float it in an aquarium. And I just float it on top of the aquarium just like that. Check on it every couple of days. It'll turn brittle and break really easy to the touch when it's ready. And you'll see little white specks or circles. They kind of look like little eggs. And those will be the snails. I just take the whole clutch and kind of break it up and just dunk the paper towel into the tank that I want to grow them out in, and there you have it. They'll all fall in there. Give it a couple days and they'll start appearing on the glass. Freshwater fish rescue. Out!